After a 2-year interval due to the COVID pandemic, Model Rail Scotland has returned to the major show scene in Britain at its home in the Scottish Event Campus in Glasgow. This video features 00 and HO layouts. This 00 gauge layout, Montague Field, is a portrait of a forlorn mid-1950s industrial railway, set on the northeast coast of England between the rivers Tyne and Wear. The quayside layout in an unspecified location on the historic coast of County Durham was inspired by books of the North East Region and the London and North East Region railways. The layout's scenic area is built onto two 4-foot 6-inch by 2-foot boards, but has an extension at the front, bringing the overall size to 9 feet by 3-foot 6. A major feature of the layout is dockside cranes built from Airfix Dapol kits. Buildings were scratch built with stonework and cobbles produced by hand scribing DIY filler. The coal staiths were cut in batches from balsa wood and then held in place with pins on a jig. Much of the layout stock was built from kits, detailed and weathered, and fitted with B&B couplings. Some ready-to-run models have been added after modification and weathering. Although mostly freight traffic, a Class 101 DMU operates a limited passenger service. Welgate Wagon Works, presented by Clyde Model Railway Club and modelled in 00. Welgate Wagon Works represents an urban facility set in or around the present day. It was inspired by, but not based on, the EG Steel facility in Hamilton. The club wanted a small layout on which to run our modern stock, but wanted to avoid a station or indeed any passenger stock. Nowadays, almost all freight operations are in long block trains, which is not feasible in 3 metres. What it does allow for is short, sometimes mixed, trains to trundle in and be split up and the wagons head off for unspecified repairs in one of the sheds. As is the case with such operations in the 21st century, it is fairly run down and rather unlovely. This impression is hopefully enhanced by the brooding grey skies and the uninspiring concrete blocks of flats at the rear. The track layout is perhaps a little complex for today's railway, but we hope to keep both the operators and visitors amused by some of the shunting required by the plan. Kilbowie by Brian Thompson, modelled in 00. Welcome to the Glasgow suburb of Clydebank in the early 1960s. My model is a real station on the Lanarkshire and Dumbarton Railway, later the Caledonian, and then the LMS. The general shape and position of the layout are true to the area, but obviously with modeller's licence. The first thing you will notice is the Forth and Clyde Canal running the full length of the layout, with the swing bridge and tram tracks of Kilbowie Road crossing the middle before diving under to the station main entrance under the low bridge. There is also a side entrance only visible on the operator's side to cope with the high passenger flows. To the right of the layout are some buildings of the Singer sewing machine factory with its iconic clock, once the largest clock face in the world. Notice the pipes going into the canal supplying coolant to the factory-owned power station. The backdrop shows the shipyard cranes of the famous John Brown's shipbuilding yard, where the Cunard Queens were built. Also of note is the electrified line of the Glasgow North Electric Blue trains, which duck under our line then climb over on the viaduct after a stop at Clydebank Central. In front of the viaduct is Kilbowie Goods, with an interchange facility for the shipyard. Both the interchange and the main line go under the viaduct, but the main line has a stiff incline of 1 in 40 from Clydebank Riverside taxing the locos, as you'll hear during the show. The layout runs an intensive suburban schedule with many freight services and the odd special. There is a mix of steam and green diesels passing by. It is DCC and can run on 4 controllers. Stonelaw on Sea, presented by Rutherglen Model Railway Club and modelled in 00. Stonelaw on Sea is a 00 gauge layout set in the 1960s steam diesel era. It portrays a fictional layout on the coast of Scotland somewhere, with main line running through the town. Coastal features include a seawall, beach, lighthouse and a harbour, where fish are landed and transported by rail. The layout contains a mainline station, town with shops, houses, garage and allotments. This layout features continuous running and there is a large fiddle yard to the rear. Trains are hauled by steam and first generation diesels. 52nd Avenue, presented by Blythe and Tyne Model Railway Society. Modelled in HO gauge. The layout represents a small yard in a rundown area of a large city. Short trains arrive behind a single loco with a caboose, and the engineer has to use his ingenuity to spot each car alongside the relevant industry and have the caboose to the rear of the loco when he departs. The yard is at the end of an industrial branch and the year is 1953. The location is freelanced and loosely based on the Southern Railroad, having access to the city of Chicago. The track is Pico Streamline with Lentz stationary decoders and tortoise switch motors to activate the switches. Stock is by a variety of manufacturers and is weathered using thinned enamel paints applied with an airbrush. All stock has KD couplers and metal wheels. The operating system is Rocco Z21 with apps on smartphones. There is an Apple smartphone and an Android tablet for the members of the public to have a go. Smatop, presented by Aberdeen Model Railway Club and modelled in HO. The small fictional town of Smatop is a busy little industrial town centred on forest products. It is the terminus of a branch from the Halmstad-Nasjo railway main line at Oskarstrom. The line was built to serve Smatop's Brook AB, which run a paper mill behind the station. As a subsidiary activity, they also have a sawmill and a small furniture factory. There is also a light engineering company in the town, which send products out by rail. The train services provided on the layout are based on 1930s operating practice. Passenger services are mainly provided by rail buses and include a daily working to and from Halmstad by the HNJ's Pride and Joy, one of the new NOHAB high-speed rail buses. Freight services include a mixed freight and serve the other 2 stations on the branch as well as Smatop. Burford, presented by Worley Model Railway Club and modelled in HO. The mythical Burford branch was first conceived by the late Vernon Woods in the 1930s. After World War II, the track was removed and replaced with improved quality product that was then available. The layout was completed 25 years later. After Vernon's passing, the layout was given to the Worley Club and exhibited on several occasions. However, electrical and running problems led to a decision being made to replace the track with Pico Code 75 products and to operate the points with SEEP motors. Burford reflects the GWR in the 1930s, but some of the stock is of a later period and reflects what is available in this unusual scale for a British outline layout. Work is continuing to replace buildings and to restore and improve this historic layout. Beijiao, presented by Paul Stapleton and modelled in HO. The layout was inspired by the many trips my friends and I took to photograph steam trains in China from 1993 to 2015. The layout is set in 2001. and by then the remaining steam action was mainly centred around the heavily polluted industrial cities in the northeast of China. Beijiao is set on the outskirts of such a city, and everything you see today is based on what we saw back then. If you look carefully, you will see 3D printed versions of us on the layout taking photos, but we only appear when a steam train is approaching, so keep an eye open for us. At the back of the layout we have an industrial railway linking coal mines offstage to the left with the steelworks offstage to the right. Access to the steelworks is up a 1 in 30 grade, and so freight trains require the help of 2 bankers. In the centre is a double-track China Rail main line, and trains can be seen heading to and from the city station offstage to the left. China Rail was almost completely steam-free by 2001, but you'll see an occasional steam-hauled train on the main line. In the foreground is a bidirectional secondary line, which in 2001 was still predominantly using steam, but even here the first diesels had begun to appear.